Wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
We all live in a yellow submarine, yellow submarine, yellow submarine.
Hello and welcome back. It is Sunday. Yes, I'm recording on the weekend. Naughty me. Only because I'm expecting big doings this week around the old Casa Dalmaso. So going to get a jump on the sub and show you how everything turned out once we took all the tape off. And here's what the beastie looks like with the tape all removed. And here is the seam we were all talking about. Yes, it's the buzz amongst the neighborhood is getting rid of that seam. And since it's Sunday and I really don't want to do a lot of work, I do want to go ahead and putty, throw some putty at that joint and let it set up overnight so that when I come at it tomorrow, it will have had a full night to cure. Good morning, it's Monday. Yay! Time to finish up the sub this week. And what we've got is the patient prepped on the table. And we are going to, I cheated yesterday and did a first pass on the Mondo spot putty, and I've sanded that down, and I'm going to put the first pass of filler primer on that to see exactly where my spots for improvement are. And then it'll just be a couple of rounds of that. So we're down to really tiny stuff, really piddly work. So we're going to try to knock this out in a couple of days. Okay, gray primer's on, and it does that one thing so well that regular paint just doesn't seem to do. And that is expose where there are cracks and seams that aren't quite closed up. So it looks like I need to put a clamp right there and close that up and do some more sanding and right through there. So the front looks beautiful. And the front, which I was dreading, seems to be going together quite nicely. That's, come on, focus. There you go. Seems to be working quite nicely. Maybe because it's a bigger area and easier to putty. But let me hit this with a round of the old red stuff. Okay, I've gone around the edge in more ways than one. I've gone around the edge of all of this seam, and I've sprayed the first coat was with a primer, or the primer filler, and then I puttied and sanded and puttied and sanded, and now I'm ready for the next pigment color, which will be a sandable primer, and we'll see if I can get that all done in one or two coats. I realize this can start to look confusing after a while because the masking vinyl that I'm using is yellow, which is the same color as the ship. So you may see yellow and think it's paint where it's actually masking. I have masked off these windows. This is the sandable white primer. I am getting ready to spray the yellow on this joint and around this bottom part of the perimeter. I've got everything sanded to where I'm happy with it. But I need to, I've been jostling things around, and when I move it, it scuffs up other paint. So what I need to do is paint everything I can reach with it on its back, then leave it alone, walk away from it, come back to it later when I can paint everything, put it on its belly and paint everything there. That's where I'm getting into trouble, is I'm stepping over myself on some things. So let's decant some of that yellow Max primer plus paint into the airbrush and see about getting a first coat of that on here. This Bondo went in like a charm and sanded up really nice, so I'm really happy with that. But I kind of got carried away back through here, so I'm gonna re-yellow all of that, and this yellow mask is protecting the clear plastic. I'm going to repaint the blue frame around it when the yellow is dried. Okay, and that is the first coat of touch-up yellow on the bottom, and I'm going to let this alone for a few hours. This looks pretty good. I'm happy with that. This looks a little bit brighter in real life than you're seeing it now, so we'll see what color it looks like as it dries. But good morning, it's Tuesday, and this ship has turned into the painting that will never end. I forgot. I must have just forgotten in all of the rush to do this underside to take care of this underside. So I've got a coat of the primer filler on there, and I am noticing a crack that has opened up, which I do not like, so I'm going to have to putty that. And good morning again. It is still Tuesday, and I am working on this grinning idiot, trying to minimize and go smaller and smaller and smaller with the amount of area that I'm working on. Trying to refine these seams, and they are coming along quite nicely. But what you see there is the primer gray, which, if I play my cards right, could be the final gray right in there, because that's the color that area should be, is a gray. So why not use the primer gray? Got the masks on the windows, got the gray drying. I'm going to have to go back and retouch all of this blue, so cross your fingers on that. That may have been a mistake to paint it so early. You know, I always do, I try to do a post-mortem after I'm done, and I'm thinking maybe the lesson learned on this was don't do the blue stripes until you've got this worked in. It actually was a lot more, I thought I could keep all of my work to this area, and it ended up encompassing a lot more of the kit than I thought it would. So maybe the lesson is don't put the blue stripes on until you've got all of the body work done. So there's your lesson learned, maybe. We're continuing the long road back to finish, and that involves, now that this has been puttied and grayed, primered, now it involves a coat of white over top of it, because that, like I've said a million times and will sing to my grave, the yellow does not cover over gray. Yellow only covers over white. So yellow or white there, and then once this is dry, we put a coat of yellow on it. It is Tuesday evening, and it may look like we're back to square one, but we're actually back to the square root of one, because I feel like I've done this over and over. This is, crossed fingers, there are the crossed fingers, the last coating of yellow. Tomorrow, after this is dried all night, I am going to attempt to do the stripes again. Now, the added benefit is this will all be, I can remove all of this tomorrow and actually paint the blue frames around the windows as well as the stripes. Hopefully it'll be the final bluing. If I've learned anything, and I doubt that I have, it's that I should do one side, let it get done, dry, and whatever, before I flip it over and do the other side. It's just folly, and I've got all the time in the world. I don't know why I rushed it the last time. But this dries overnight, and then we come back and we blue probably the bottom. I mean, we'll probably do these ones first. Get these stripes blue, do the window frames, and then flip the whole mamma jamma over. This came off. Ask me how I'm going to put it back on. I don't really know for sure. I was moving things around, and all of a sudden I heard a gut tightening rattle, and it was this piece rattling around inside, so I actually had to shake the kit to get it to come out. It's what you get for not double making sure all your parts are glued in. So the only thing I can think to do is to nip off both of those rings and kind of fish this in with a hooked tool and CA around the edge and then pull it tight. That's the only thing I can think of. So that's going to be an adventure on its own, but hopefully one we don't tackle until tomorrow. Big doings are happening tomorrow, and once they actually get done, I will be documenting them on the video. Okay, I took the masking off the front while this cures overnight, just so it can I've had trouble if I leave tape on too long. Sometimes it gets dried in with the paint and pulls paint off. The tape does. So I'll just take this off while I can, and you can see the cleanly demarcated lines. And while I'm at it, I'm going to try to fish this back in. Now I've cut both of the pin things off because I can't hook them around the pins. And I've tried it, and I think it's going to work. What I'm going to do is put some CA right in there on both sides, top and bottom, and then fish it around and pull it back tight. So let's Cross your fingers for me and see how it works. Well, huzzah. Chalk up one for the win column. Yes, it pulled out just fine. Now, I'm thinking about this one since it's in kind of flat, whether or not it's going to give up the ghost next. So, as I suspected, I gave it a little wiggle and it pushed right in. So, good thing I caught that. Boy, you really can't count on 10X to do too much holding things together these days. So when in doubt, use the old CA, but it seems to have fixed itself rather nicely. Good morning, a little midweek FaceTime. It is Wednesday, and the sub is sitting with hopefully its final coat of yellow on it. It's getting a nice candy coating of the yellow, and it's getting hard and drying and curing and doing all that stuff, and it's a good place to leave it. It will never hurt to let this dry longer than you need it to dry before you put the blue stripes on, which is the next step I want to do, and I do want to get to that today. But I wanted to interrupt the normal building for this special announcement. Yes, today, hopefully today, starts the beginning of my biggest scale model project yet, which is a 1-to-1 house addition. I'm getting a room built on the back of the house which will house the collection, which has been slowly filling up the house for the last 5 years. And it was, I know I keep harping on my retirement, but it was my retirement plan. It is to get this addition built on the back of the house. Looks like that's going to start today. They're going to come by with the heavy equipment and dig out the foundations or dig out the footings for it. So until I know how much of an interruption that is going to be on my day-to-day building, I don't know how much of an impact that's going to have. It may cut my building drastically way down. I may have to find other small things that I can build strictly on my desktop, because it's going to be right in the area that I take things outside to prime and bring back in. So I'm going to have friendly workmen there instead. So I'm either going to have to find another way to do that work while the big stuff is going on, or suspend it until such time that I can resume. So like I said, I don't know what the impact's going to be. I've got lots of little tabletop stuff I can build. It's just going to make a difference in when I can take things outside to prime them and things like that. So, and it's 1:20 and we finally see some activity. I mean, they were only supposed to be here at 11, so I just have to get used to what contractor time actually means. I'm just not patient enough for it, I guess. But yes, there comes the digger that's going to take care of my foundation. Yay! And here's the hole at the end of day one. That old oil tank was a story in itself, wasn't it? Buried very closely to the house and not really known about until it was unearthed. But we've got a nice trench here going, ready for some concrete and cinder block. And you, thanks for nothing. All you did today was contribute to some tense moments, wondering whether or not we were going to have to get the entire EPA and Walter Peck involved in your extraction. Luckily for me, that was not needed. But now it's a little bit big to be a planter, so we need to arrange for its removal. Okay, it is time for the re-bluing, and as you can probably guess, I'm a bit gun-shy about this from the horribleness that happened last time. But I've got two things going for me that I didn't have last time. One, I have the silhouette of the original stripes to go by, and two, I am going to be doing a more measured approach, which is only going to do the bottom stripes tonight and get those painted and not try to get all of it done tonight. And by slowing it down and taking it easy, hopefully things will go better this time. Very well, you may call this overkill, but after the last time, I call it just kill enough. Every square millimeter of this bottom of this hull that is not intended to be blue is covered with at least one layer of tape, in some cases two, in some spots even three. And here's the bottom stripe sprayed on under a much more controlled environment. Being extra mindful of where my overspray was going and using little cards to block said overspray. So I'm going to let this sit at least, a couple of hours. And then before I head off to Slumberland tonight, I will take the tape off. Well, if this isn't the perfect way to round out a Wednesday night, I don't know what is. Removed all of the tape from the underside, and the stripes are nice and clean, and I don't see any overspray anywhere. Yay, thank you. So this sits for the rest of the night, and I'll come back tomorrow and put a gloss coat on it, and then we'll flip it over and try to do it on the top side. Good morning. It is Thursday, and it is time to do some more work now before the kindly workmen come and continue their cement pouring today. I have a window of opportunity at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day when I can work uninterrupted, and this is it's actually quite reminding me of my old work schedule. But anyway, I took the tape off last night, put a coat of clear gloss on the bottom to kind of protect the blue here. And what I'm doing now looks like a bit of dental damming, but it is, I'm going to spray the front frame. And I've got all kinds of tape out to protect against overspray, and we'll be doing this very gently. But I'm going to do this a little bit and get it done before they get here, and then that could be drying all day today, and in anticipation of the striping of the top tonight. So there, it's appropriately blue framed. And I'll let that sit for a good long while before I take any of the tape off. There's a clean frame. Yay! Not to say that there isn't the tiniest little touch right there that I might want to clean up by hand. But that's a nice spray. Yeah, I'm going to touch up that crest of that molding right there. But very happy with this, and now it's time to let it dry. Okay, it is Thursday evening, around 6-ish. The workmen have left for the day. The masking is still on the windows, but I've just hit this front grille with a coat of the clear gloss, and I'm letting that set up. Good morning, it is Friday. It is the start of the Labor Day weekend, which doesn't matter to me since I don't have to labor. But it's the beginning of Labor Day weekend. We've got a tropical storm bearing down on us today, which is supposed to produce a lot of rain. And it's time to finish a flying sub. All I've got left to do is try to do this with one hand. Pop this guy on his belly. Hold the phone. Let me get this plug out of the way. Let's put this down on some foam. All I've got to do is to repaint these stripes, and we will be done. I have a tiniest bit of touch-up on the back wall, some damage that was done in process. So we'll get these stripes on, get the back wall touched up, and we'll be ready to put this on a base and call it a done thing. No, actually, that's not true. We have to finish the stripes, and then we've got to put a clear coat over it. Then it's done. But yeah, come on, we're very close. So let me go have a cup of coffee and we'll get started. It's Friday morning and it's time to paint the top stripes. Like I've said before, you may think this is overkill. You have not stood where I am standing. It is just kill enough. I've said that before, I'll say it again. This is the last time I want to put the these stripes on here, so everything is masked within an inch of its life. You may not think that's a masking, but that's actually the yellow vinyl. So that is masking, and now I'm ready to put the final blue stripes on. Yes, I know there is a tiny bit of touch-up under the front nose there where the stripes join the front frames. I believe I'm going to paint those in by hand because it's just too tricky an area to try to mask. And the top stripes have been painted. We'll let this sit for a while before I take the at least the outside masks off and then leave the vinyl down for a little bit longer. But hopefully this is the last time we have to paint anything. Hopefully I'm done with the airbrush on this. I have some hand work to do and then coats of clear, but I'm hoping that this is the end of the airbrush saga for this little lovely yellow submarine. It's mail call on a Friday, and I got what I was hoping to get before this long weekend, because I know there'll be no mail on Monday. But for my good friends at Cult TV Man, the Penguin kit, yay! I have a feeling, not just a feeling, it's almost a certainty that this Penguin model is going to get built before the Nautilus sub. Now, before people have to start moaning, oh, I wanted to look forward to the Nautilus sub. Yes, I will get right on it. The thing is, that's a sub. I've been working on subs for a while. The Nautilus is kind of far along. It's not going to take that long to do. And in the midst of cleaning other things this weekend, or this week earlier, I happened upon my old Dracula kit, which I started and abandoned a long time ago. And the thing about the Dracula kit is it's black and white. So I'm thinking I'm going to try to do a twofer on the Penguin. Going to try to do the Penguin and Dracula at the same time. Since they use flesh, black and white in variations, I can do a lot of airbrushing on both at the same time. So plus, if we get socked in with bad weather, I'm not going to be able to do a lot of big scale priming. So I'm going to open this up and do some parts cleaning and some sub-assembling, and while this is drying, take care of getting this ready to go, and then we will be back on the Nautilus sub. Here are all the parts for the Penguin parts. And I had been cautioned earlier that the monocle, the delicate little eyepiece, would be in the bag with the umbrella shafts, and not to lose track of it. Well, to my horror and shock, the bag was open. So looking very carefully, I did spot both monocles, and you do get two, so I guess that makes it a bionicle. It was floating in the bottom of the box, so if you pick up this kit, and I recommend that you do, like the other Batman kits, be on the lookout for that. And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. All of the tape has been removed. I cannot, unfortunately, do the final top coat today, as it is raining cats, dogs, and small monkeys outside, and I cannot take this out to even step on the back porch to give it a simple spray because the humidity is so high. And I learned my lesson last time about spraying in high humidity. So tomorrow it is supposed to be, the storm will have moved through and it's supposed to be dried out and the sun will return, and I will do that. So you will see the final report, or final result you'll see on next week's report. This is as far as we're going to get today. I am going to repaint this area back here by hand and paint in the tiny little blue bits that go up there, but I am not going to take the masking off of the windshields before the whole thing has been covered with clear. So for that great unveiling, you'll have to see next week's report. Okay, we may not see the final finished this week on this flying sub because of the weather, but I'm not going to let that stop me from making this final video. Yes, those are the open windows. They're dirty, they need to be cleaned off, but done they are. I need to mask them one last time and spray a clear gloss over top of the blue lines. There is some tiniest touches of yellow I need to do, but like I said, that's the last 1% of the kit, and I didn't want to wait until next week to show you the final ship. So there's all of the lights lighting. Let me turn off the overhead. There you go. That's all the lights lighting. I'm sorry, turn on these headlights. There you go. Headlights lit. That's the reactor. That's the floor. And those are the consoles. Turn everything back on. I have, oh, it's here somewhere, that last little hatch. I've got to put it back on this door. But if I open up that door far enough, you can see into the corridor and into the rest of the ship. Oops. Into the rest of the ship. There's that little red light over top of the tunnel doorway. Both hatches being semi-opened. And the fins looking like they should. For the engine fins, that is. And there's the view into the seats. Don't look too closely at the paint job around the window frames. Still could stand to touch some of that up, and I will. But I have to say, the sub is finished. And I do believe that's going to do it for this week. I did not get as far into the Nautilus as I wanted to get, but as I say, any job worth doing is worth doing twice, and I can't think of a single thing on this sub that I didn't do at least twice. Not getting it right the first time or having to patch up a mess that I've created for myself. So the sub took a long time to do, but I was also distracted with the main project at the house right now, which is the new wing. The new wing, as I'm calling it, the display space that I'm getting put on the house. So that took up some time. But we have a this close to being finished flying sub. I'm going to do those little niggling details probably over the weekend, since the weather's supposed to clear up, and I will put that on the head of next week's work. And we're going to do a bunch of little things this week. We're going to do next week. Nope, sorry, not going to tell you what we're going to do next week. You're just going to have to find out for yourself. But it involves a Nautilus sub and 2 figures that use black and white paint. So until that thrilling week, have a good Labor Day, have a fine week, have a fine weekend, and be nice to each other, and we'll see you here next time.